Team Deth, we're back on YouTube, and we're back with something a little unique. We didn't go to the movies. We're not at a traditional event, a convention, or a reading or something. Or something that I've always wanted to do, Telsa City Stories. It's a live radio show done in Portland, Oregon. I can't wait. We're going to go. I'm super excited to see what they do and how this works in front of a live crowd. Maybe take some inspiration for some future projects for our own, and just have a good time.
Absolutely.
Shall we go in?
Let's go. I was really surprised that it was a fully immersive experience.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a single piece of art or a single performance. It was so many pieces all put together, including a magnificent environment and venue that really sold the entire experience to feel that you were transported back into the 1940s or 50s, into that great era of radio theater.
Yeah, so it is a radio drama presentation, a live radio show, vintage style. So you had a total of 6 actors plus a live Foley artist.
Oh, he was amazing.
Yeah, and an introducer, narrator, MC, who was also running the keys. He was doing some work on the keyboard a little bit, running some music. And it was at the Old Church Concert Hall, which is in downtown Portland. I've never been in there. I've been aware of the building. I've just never really been inside for any reason. Have you ever?
I hadn't, and I'd seen it from the outside for years and years living here in the Portland area. I've never been inside. It's literally an old church that was converted into a concert hall and theater venue space. Fantastic space available for rent for small events and for runs of shows like they do with Telsa City Stories. Beautiful little side rooms for, I know they were using one as a green room, but then big room with a little cafe and wide variety of both alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks, few little snacks, and pretty decent access to bathrooms as well. They had quite a few options for bathrooms, whether it be a single-use gender-neutral bathroom, men's, women's, and plenty of bathrooms, and an elevator to help those with disabilities such as myself get up and down the stairs to the restrooms. So very impressed with the space.
Yeah, the bathrooms, you do have to go down a bunch of stairs to get to, and it's kind of a tight fit, but there is an elevator if you do need something like that. I'd never been in the building. It's something that seems perfect for an event like this. And we've been doing a lot of theater over the past year. And really, in terms of all the theatrical events that we've been to, this is my favorite space.
Yes, I think so.
The sound was perfect. Whoever placed the microphones and set up the speakers, and it's set up for a concert, so of course it's going to sound great. It actually worked so well that when we go again, and we are going again, we don't necessarily need to be sitting up front like we did last time. There's not a bad seat in the place because it all sounds great.
And the lighting is great. It's professional LED lighting that's set up in the place. So that was really nice too. And good parking. They have a parking lot. I mean, it is paid parking, but reasonable, and plenty of parking right there on site, or you can find street parking.
Sure. Now, when we say it's like a vintage radio show, I think a lot of viewers and a lot of people know what an old-time radio show is, whether it's old school Abbott and Costello or The Shadow or War of the Worlds, the Orson Welles production, that sort of thing. It's like that, except in this case, I would liken it to a movie that came out, I believe, in the mid-90s called Radioland Murders. Have you seen the film?
Yes.
I'm actually a big fan of that movie, and I kind of want to go back and revisit it after seeing Telsa City Stories. Granted, there's a whole madcap mystery thing in that film, but the setting is a live radio broadcast where you've got actors and actresses and narrators and sound effects artists and all that on stage doing things live to be broadcast on the radio with a live audience in attendance watching the whole thing happen. And it was just really cool.
It was really neat. I mean, from the moment we got there, the place was set up with old-timey microphones, or they had adjusted modern microphones to make them look more old-timey. All of the characters were in period dress to at least some degree, and some even had slight costume changes or hat changes to designate different characters at time. Just really wonderful. The props that you could see that they used were period, and the number of objects that the Foley artist had to at his disposal to create the whole sound world that they were enveloping us in were pretty amazing.
And it was old school Foley. It was old school radio sound effect artistry on display. It was a wooden box, and then the little small mini door with the doorknob and whatever, and the rusty hinges for the squeak squeak.
And shoes to clop clop along like someone was walking.
Yeah, it was really cool. And one thing that I really appreciated about that, granted I'm a sound guy, so I really appreciated that just in general, but there were times when he was doing things with like a set of chains during one of the stories that had to do with like supernatural spooky stuff. He had a set of chains that he was kind of fiddling with his fingers. You could just barely hear it, but it was there enough so that you still had the effect. And if you had closed your eyes for a second, it would have been perfect. Just you didn't have them stand out, detracting from the performances. And I thought the performances all around were fantastic. So it was just quite the ensemble.
Wide range of ages in the actors and performers, because there weren't just actors performing radio play, but there was also a musical act even involved.
So think back to like the old school Abbott and Costello comedy radio shows where you'd usually have like a skit or two, a musical number, maybe a closing skit or two.
And don't forget those great old radio ads for all those household products.
Right. You know, and ad reads and that sort of thing. Sometimes incorporated into the stories themselves.
The way they were back in the day.
Right, yeah. So in this one, we got 3 stories. We started with, and I'm going to check my phone because I'm professional. We started with Nightingale of the Broken Heart, which is a soap opera. Is a nurse, Nightingale, at the Broken Heart Hospital, and her adventures or misadventures in love and romance and, well, a serial killer that was out and about doing stuff. And it was very short. And I'll be honest, when it ended, I was disappointed. I'm like, oh.
I was like, what's next? I don't know.
Well, I was like, this is so small. I want more, but that's okay. Because we had a real beefy story with The Wraith, which is Telsa City's, and Telsa City's, the city that this is set in. The Wraith is Telsa City's supernatural avenger. Think kind of like Batman, but spookier is how I think they put it.
Definitely has some psychic or psionic powers, being able to deal with supernatural beings and that sort of thing,
right,
as well as normal mortals.
Right. And it was a longer story. It felt like a complete story, even though supposedly we had come into this saying part 7 of whatever, you know, it was a serialized story. But this one felt like a complete story to me. Like
it did. It felt like a beginning to end, you know, a unit, the same way that you would have a small paperback novel or a comic book, that sort of, you know, feeling of length of story. But the neatest thing I thought was they tied the different stories together.
Yeah.
So the serial killer from the first one was active in the next one. And so even though the 2 stories were about different people, they were tied together by this one character throughout. And you were kind of trying to figure out who it was and what was going on and who might be the next victim.
Now, they told us at the very beginning of this that this was maybe not necessarily the norm. And I don't know, because it's the first time we've ever gone, that you would have this kind of crossover tying together of the different stories and that sort of thing. So I don't feel like we're spoiling anything. And the way they did it, it wasn't a cheat. It wasn't like, oh gosh, you know, it actually worked. And it was really cool to see Nurse Nightingale turn up again in the Wraith story. And like I said, I felt that was the beefier story. It was my favorite of the 3 stories. Granted, it was spooky, and that's right in my wheelhouse, but I dug it.
You know, one of the pieces I actually enjoyed the most, somewhere towards the end of the first half, if you will, there was a formal intermission, although they made it clear at the beginning of the show that you were welcome to get up and go get another drink or a snack if you needed one during the show, you know, as long as you did so respectfully and everything, which was really nice too, because it really made me feel like if I needed to get up to get something to drink or use the restroom, that was nice. And it clearly drew a wider range of crowd. You had everywhere from teenagers that had come and clearly dressed up for the event, 40s fashion, and were excited to be there, all the way to we had a lady celebrating her 100th birthday. at the event.
So
So that was really cool. And we had people in there, I think 20s and 30s celebrating birthdays in the crowd too.
I was so jealous because one of them got a signed cast poster of the race.
That was
Like,
really
oh, dude, I want that.
But yeah, so one of the things that they did during the show was the Foley artist David Ian, to give him credit because he was amazing. I would go see anything he was in, and if I needed a Foley artist, I would definitely look for him. Yeah. Well, I know. But... Okay, well maybe we'd find something where we need 2 Foley artists.
Fair enough.
There you go. Anyway, he came out with one of the other actors, and they brought out a mystery box of fun, brought up 3 people from the crowd, and got them involved in making sound effects for one of their short stories. And I thought, how cool was that? That members of the audience who had no idea they were going to be involved got to go up on stage and do numerous Foley sound effects as part of a story. So that's definitely something I heard some other audience members saying they regularly do, and it's something I will maybe look forward to participating in the future.
Yeah, I didn't quite know what to expect when they started doing that segment, but I would have loved to have gotten up there, not necessarily to participate, but just to kind of look behind the curtain and see what the Foley are.
Toys,
I have
right?
to see all the toys, man. You had asked me when we were done, do I want to go try to talk to anybody? It's like, I don't know. I would have loved to talk to the Foley artist, but he looked like he was quite busy putting all of his toys away. So maybe next time. That was before the intermission.
That was before the intermission. They did have a nice length of intermission. And then one thing that they did that I thought that was really great and made it really easy for everyone in the audience to get back into the swing of things before the final story of the night was they brought in that musical act, the singing trio, which...
The Newport Nightingales.
Newport Nightingales. And they had a band with them. The band was amazing. You know, old, like, kind of 40s traveling guitar player with his foot up picking away, and the bass player, boom, 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 and guy on piano.
Percussion with just like a little drum stand, and
it was magical. And they were having an amazing time. The band was having as good a time as the audience, which was amazing. And then these 3 ladies and their harmonies and vocalizations, I was very, very impressed as someone who has sung a couple of the songs they've sung and would not even dare to attempt at least one of the ones that they sang beautifully. Very, very impressed at their ability both to be true to the original music. You know, they were very true in their costuming. There's a tendency to kind of go overboard with that era of costuming for ladies and make it too fancy. Whereas if you were really set during like the 1940s and the war, everything was pretty simple and make and mend and all of that. Stayed true to that. Their hair and makeup was beautifully done, and they really made an attempt to engage the audience and include people singing along. And so to come back in from intermission with that, it made it easy for folks to kind of wander back in, find their seats, get comfortable, and everyone was settled and ready to really focus by the time the last story came on.
Now, I was late coming back from intermission because I decided to go down to the bathroom, and I think I even, is that when I bought? Yeah, I went outside, got a little stuffy in there. Yeah, it happens. It's coming up on summertime eventually. But one thing that I really liked is that in the cafe area, they had a TV monitor set up with a feed from what was happening one room over. So even if I had gotten stuck in the cafe for whatever reason, I could turn around and look at the screen and see what's going on. And because of the sound system, I could have heard it as well. The other thing I want to comment about the Newport Nightingales is even though there were like 4-5 microphones set up for the performances of the actors for the stories, the Newport Nightingales just used the one microphone. And the 3 of them...
Very old style, gather around and...
They huddled around the one mic, and they had the choreography down. They were in kind of bopping back and forth, but they would kind of swap out. One lady would kind of lead the one song, and then they would maybe comment on something afterwards and then swap around. It was just super cool.
It was very, very neat and beautifully performed and very fun to be a part of. And I do believe from some of their literature on the signage that they are available to hire for private performances and corporate performances. So I'm sure if you go to the Telsa City website, they'll have the information for the Nightingales.
Oh, I've already put the website address on the screen somewhere. It's like there, somewhere. It's somewhere. Okay, so the final story, which I think probably ended up being the longest.
Yes.
In the end, even though the Wraith felt beefier to me because it was spooky. The final story was an installment of the off-key life of Viola Harper. It was a madcap kind of story, and it's about a woman who apparently is a performer, is part of a nightclub or something, but
Professional singer, but she can't really sing.
yeah, she's got a bunch of heart and a bunch of enthusiasm, just lousy vocal cords. And it was a story about her fiance picking her up after she spent some time in jail after the misadventures of
A little bit of a wild night, I'd say.
Quite the Wild Night, which referenced briefly the events of the previous two stories. And again, it all tied together.
Which was really nice, yeah.
The actors and actresses, so good at what they did.
At times just switching on a dime from one accent to another in order to cover parts and moving around between microphones, which was neat to follow. The special effects that had clearly been enacted on some of the microphones to give like an echo sound or a whisper sound or whatever it needed was amazing. And, you know, the little bits of campy jokes and silliness were really also a highlight for me. Like the organ player maybe playing just a little too long, enjoying his solo a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Between pieces of theater.
The actors kind of looking at each other and then looking over their shoulders like, okay, let's get on with it. But, you know, it was all in fun. It was all part of the act. There might have been a couple of bits here and there where people stepped over lines or whatever, but they played it off so well.
And that's what covered beautifully.
It's live. It's a live theatrical performance. And even though it is designed to be presented as if it's something that you hear on the radio, for the benefit of the crowd and maybe even for the benefit of the performers to help them get into character, you can see the woman who's playing Nightingale, the nurse, switch her body language and even just the way she's sitting waiting for her turn to get up on the microphone to perform as Golden Toes from the Viola story. Or even when she had to switch from ethereal aid to the nurse in The Wraith and back and forth. She would actually put on the classic little nurse's cap to get into character for the nurse. And the little movements, you know, a character is drinking some water. Now, obviously, they're not going to get up on stage and drink a whole bunch, but they might go through the motion. And it just kind of made it more special. It wasn't just somebody reading a script. They were performing.
The actors used practical effects in many cases. When Viola, as we said, this is not really a spoiler, but was conversing at the jail with her fiance, they just used a simple cup, a glass that they spoke into in order to give that effect of those old jail phones that talks through. And it mimicked the sound perfectly and was amazing. And it was just as simple as lifting up a glass before they spoke.
It was really cool. Something that I've been aware of for a long time, not just the old church, but I've known about Telsa City Stories for a long time as well. And I just have never bothered, and that's on me, to check them out live. And we're going again.
Oh, we're definitely going again. Now, they do run most of their season, like most theater companies, from early fall through late spring. So we are coming up on their season finale, or their season closer, if you will, on June 23rd, I believe is their next performance, 7:30 p.m. Any seat in the house is a good seat. If you do get VIP seats, you get to sit a little further up. You get raffle tickets. They have raffle tickets available for some cool vintagey type prizes, you know, old school. And a really cool old school lunch bar.
Oh, I know that's what you want.
I did. It had the Rosie Riveter, We Can Do It on it. But, you know, I might have to look for one of my own. I'll definitely get another raffle ticket next time. But any seat in the house is a great seat, and you can hear everything and really see everything. It has nice raked seating because it was a church, so that really plays in well. If you are someone that is sensitive to sitting on harder surfaces, the seats are padded church benches, but they are older. You might want to bring a cushion to sit on. I did notice several of the older patrons had done that. They brought just like a stadium cushion to sit on, or a kitchen chair cushion. And so that's clearly allowed and just a perfectly fine thing to do. Pretty good air conditioning, despite it being quite a warm day for May in Portland.
Yeah, it was a comfortable venue for that. It did start to get a little warm and stuffy towards the end, and I don't know.
See the performers, there were a couple guys in double-breasted suits. They were a little warm, but
Yeah, and you had suggested this. I don't know if this is the case or not, but I do wonder if the AC was on a timer and we get like coming up on 9 o'clock, things started to turn on. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. We're not connected to Telsa City, so we have no idea, which is something else I wanted to bring up. I know we're talking about buy your tickets early. We have nothing to do with these guys other than I'm now
really enjoyed it.
I'm a huge fan.
Mhm.
I'm a huge fan. I am willing to send the $5 to join the Wraith fan club.
Aww.
I want to join the Wraith fan club.
Do you get a magic decoder ring?
I don't know, because I asked the person as we were walking in, what do we get if we, join the fan club? She had no clue. It was like, oh man, well,
Well, we'll go a little earlier. I think doors usually open at an hour before showtime. And if you are in the open seating, getting there early is going to give you a much better choice of seating.
now, the Wraith will not be airing next week, or next month, excuse me. It's a different set of stories, but I trust them. They've earned my trust at this point. Even if it's 3 soap opera installments, I'm all in.
The whole the performance was so well balanced and incorporated as a whole that it really is one of my favorite theater performances that I've seen in the last year, I think.
Wow.
And I think one of the things I was most impressed with is it's pretty common that you go to review type shows like this and there's 1 or 2 people that are clearly the star that are being featured over and over again. This wasn't that way. Every single person in the company was featured at some point and clearly featured for something that they had a great amount of skill at and confidence in their ability to perform. And so it really was the best of everyone in their group, and everyone was given a moment to shine. And I really appreciate that as a performer and director myself, because that's not always easy to do, but the way that they cast and then worked all of the little bits and bobs really allowed everybody to have a share in the glory and in the craziness that was this madcap romp.
It was so much fun, and I think the only thing that would make it better for next time is if some of you joined us.
Yes, come with us.
Yes, we would love to take up a whole pew. That would be so cool.
That'd
right?
be neat. Yes.
That'd be cool. We could be like our little cheering section and such. But I'm still sitting on the end.
Leg room.
I got the legs. I claim the NC. But if you're gonna go, seriously, reach out to us or leave a comment down below. We'd love to meet up. Probably will record something about it next time as well. And through this whole thing, we've been dropping in, or I've been dropping in things that I recorded from my phone while I was there. In fact, I was encouraged.
Mm-hmm.
Post online, share on social media what you're seeing at the Telsa City Stories presentation. Just make sure you mark it or hashtag it or whatever. And we're going to be doing that with this YouTube video. If anybody from Telsa City Stories sees this YouTube video, please know you've got 2 new lifelong fans.
Absolutely.
And I'll even say friends, because we loved what you did.
And, for our regular viewers, if you are, as we said, going to come along and come with us on June 23rd, reach out to us and let us know, because we'd love to meet up with you while we're there. And, maybe before or during an intermission, take a selfie with you or even shoot a little bit of video. But thank you for joining us on this journey as we visited Telsa City Stories, and can't wait to go back.